It's been over 10 years since we last reviewed a Subaru press car. But listen, I don't hold a grudge. I can barely hold anything because I've got the upper body strength of a limp squirrel. So let's check out the new Subaru Outback Wilderness and find out in my first drive here at Mudfest outside of Seattle, Washington, is this car any good? About 12 years ago, we took a Subaru Outback off-road and it didn't perform that well. Now we did mess up on that shoot and some branches did scrape up the paint a little bit, which we offered to pay to have fixed. Unfortunately, since then we haven't received another Subaru loan, which is a shame because I am dying to see how this new all-wheel drive system performs off-road. Luckily, at the Nawapa Mudfest, there were a few to test out, so I got my first taster of the new Wilderness trim. If I recall right, the last Outback press car that we got was like 2011. I was 14 years old and my voice still hasn't dropped. Maybe one day that'll happen, but wow, has the Subaru design of the Outback changed in 15 years. That car still very much looked like a wagon. This car looks much more SUV-like, which is not necessarily a bad thing because of course that is the big seller in society today. Now there's aspects which I appreciate. I think a squared off car makes a lot of sense, especially from a storage capacity standpoint. What I don't love about it is the Wilderness bits, because yeah, the added height, the white letters out on the dual tires look awesome, but I don't understand why they just kept putting plastic on top of plastic. So on the tailgate here, we've got a green plastic applique, and then a shiny black plastic applique, and then a flat black plastic applique that seems to have absolutely no purpose at all. So fundamentally, the overall shape of the car I think is fine. I wish they would have stopped like 50% sooner with the plastic, if that makes sense. Thankfully, the standard Outback is a little bit less busy, but the Wilderness trim does give you some really good off-road goodies, such as 9.5 inches of ground clearance. This car is powered by a 260 horsepower, 2.4 liter four-cylinder with 277 pound-feet of torque. It's mated to a continuously variable transmission, and the Outback Wilderness is rated to tow 3,500 pounds. This one, as configured, a tick over $50,000. I haven't been inside of a Subaru for years. Huh. Interesting. You know, there's a lot I like in here. Where's the on button? Okay, it's right where you'd expect. As you'd come to kind of hope from an Outback, the vast majority of the materials in here feel really durable. Very easy to clean. The steering wheel, you know, uses a leather wrapped finish. I like the contrasting yellow stitching. I think that's quite nice. This dash is a soft touch. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a soft touch. That seems like it'd be pretty easy to wipe down from adventures. Same thing on the uppers, and these seats, well, they're pretty good. Now I'm not super tall, only about 6 feet, but yeah, it feels quite nice. The driving position is a little bit interesting because you feel a little sunken down relative to the hood height. So you can actually see that the hood sits ever so slightly above the dash. So I don't love the forward visibility. It's very, very hard to see where the actual edge of that hood is. But out the side windows, yeah, I like that a lot. I am disappointed in the small sunroof, especially for over $50,000. You know, I would like a slightly bigger sunroof, but I think there's a lot of really good elements, and the graphics quality on this instrument cluster are awesome. I love the little mountain motif, and this is your little driver assistance screen. Looks like it corresponds to turn signals, and that's very, very nice. The tablet style touchscreen is better integrated than some. This little hump is kind of odd. Takes away from some of the visibility. I'd prefer it just to go straight across, but I love this. Look at this. Physical climate controls for your temperature, for your fan speed, heated seats, your ventilated seats, very well done. And I also like that they don't hide the wireless charger. A little bit too much piano black, especially for a vehicle ready for adventure. That's going to get scratched up. It already is a little scratched up after just 3,000 miles. And I will say, especially compared to some of the stuff that Hyundai and Kia is doing, there's not like a lot of forward-thinking design. It's very subdued in the overall design language. It's kind of blocky, chunky, almost modules here, but yeah, I think for the type of vehicle, it's really quite good. Love the shifter. Oh, fantastic. compared to the buttons that I've been using these days. Nice chunky feeling on that shifter. That's really, really nice. Steering is quite light. And mirrors big, easy to see out of. Well, that's great. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so the engine is pretty quiet off idle, but it does have that iconic little boxer growl. That's cool, actually. You know, I like that. In an age where everything is essentially the same Turbo 4, having a slightly different growl is kind of cool. First drive out in the Outback Wilderness. Starting out our little autocross cone course. Steering feels very progressive. Ride so far feels pretty good. Not a ton of body lean. We're just kind of getting our bearings in this car. Let's see how the brakes feel. Nice firm brake pedal in that initial grab there. Okay. Yeah, not bad. Now here's the big question. Turbocharging and CVTs have been around for a long time. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but let's see how this thing accelerates. Full throttle, bit of lag, about 20 miles an hour, picks up. There's 60 miles an hour there, and on the brakes. So that's an interesting experience. Right off of stop, there is quite a big delay, quite a noticeable delay. But once you get into those upper RPMs, the CVT winds up and you get that turbo engagement. I mean, it's genuinely quick. I actually would like a little bit more sound. It is so quiet, this engine, except for just a little bit of that like boxer clattered idle. You don't get a lot of feedback, but maybe that's a good thing. And it did definitely simulate shifts, but you know, all things considered, I think that was very, very adequate. Now we're going on to the handling course here. Let's see what she'll do. Once again, full throttle. Yeah, it's a little rubber bandy. It's the only way I can put it. You know, it's not quite as linear as you might expect out of a modern crossover. Obviously, this is not a vehicle designed to be a handling machine, but very, very level through the corners. You know, for a car kind of on stilts, it actually handles surprisingly well. And these mild terrain tires are doing a good job of gripping. Yeah, very, very nice. The whole character of the car is very different than something like a Honda Passport or, you know, a Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport, right? Like it's definitely got a slightly different character, which is interesting because that's exactly the vehicle it's going after. But I'm quite impressed with the maneuverability. Steering ratio is a little bit slow, but they nailed the ride quality and they nailed the brakes. That engine is definitely a little bit rubber bandy, and I would love to hear some more sound come out of that very unique layout. But yeah, I mean, it's a very nice car to drive. As a whole, I'd be very happy in this, I think, every day. That power delivery between the turbo and the CVT would take a little bit of getting used to, but it's a very competent car on the road, that's for sure. All right, let's shut her down and check out back seat space. So I'm, like I mentioned, about 6 feet tall. Yeah, very adequate. Door opening is a little narrow, especially if you're trying to move child seats in and out. I think that could be a bit of a challenge. Headroom is excellent. Really a huge amount of headroom here, and legroom also very, very good. And I also like the 2 seat back pockets. I think that's a nice feature. Heated rear seats, USB-C, USB-A. I guess we do get any recline here out of these seats. Not really. I don't think they do recline, but that's okay. It's not at a terrible angle. I'm not noticing any kind of view blockers back here, but you do get rear seat air vents, which is a big deal for our furry friends. And then let's go ahead and check out the trunk space. There's a little latch. There we go. That's gonna glide open. Oh yeah, okay. So fairly high liftover height, but on par with other competitors in the segment. This is kind of cool. I like how they've done this. These simple little hooks for the view blocker. Very well integrated there. A couple others in the front. And then what about the spare tire situation? Looks like we do have a spare tire, 225/65 R17. How does that compare to the overall tire size? 225/65 R17. Oh, good job, Subaru. Wow, unreal. So full-size spare, and it's a dueler as well. So that I'm really happy to see that. It's very nicely integrated. I like how Subaru's done this for a lot of years. The mats that come up here hug the edges, keeps dirt away, and then these seat, oh yeah, they do that. Really good feature, being able to fold the seats straight from the trunk. That's simply awesome. Yeah, so there's a lot of really thoughtful things in the cargo area of this Outback. A fun little Easter egg over here too. They got little measurements for the cargo space with a little dog. And I just noticed this as well. Look how well that works. So you get the maximum possible space underneath the view blocker, and it's soft so you can have things poke through. I really think everybody should incorporate that. It's a good point. Why do we have hard view blockers? And if you make them soft, still keeps prying eyes away, but then allows a little bit more flexibility. And we have some more pertinent information back here. Very, very clever. Now it's time to off-road the Outback. And one thing which I'm noticing is very interesting is the system, the infotainment system, is not exactly the same as the Toyota system, but it is definitely related. Like the way they manage their shortcuts along the side here is incredibly similar to Toyota, which makes sense, of course, because Subaru and Toyota have that partnership, but the colors are better in this screen. I like all the colors. It looks a little bit brighter, and yeah, I think that's quite good. Let me go to the camera angles here. Yeah, that's a potato. It's not a very high quality camera. The frame rate is bad. That's a good angle though. I'm really glad to see that they incorporated that. So actually that camera looks good enough overhead, but forward facing. It's very 1990s. All right, so let's put this thing in the off-road mode. Now here on the right side of the steering wheel, there's a button that says X mode. So there's an X mode for snow and dirt, and then a double X mode for deep snow and mud. So we're gonna go into the most aggressive X mode. This is an area here at Mudfest that's been challenging some crossovers in terms of ground clearance, but this Outback, yeah, it's got plenty. Over 9 inches is all you need for that area. So that walked through that really with no difficulty. Now we're gonna go down this little descent before we start doing some of our fun off-roading. So good control on the brakes. We do have hill descent control active. That's working brilliantly. And then managing the turns here. This is a big car. You know, it's roomy, but you definitely feel that size on the trail. And the forward visibility is incredibly poor. Really hard to see what's directly in front of the car. So the cameras are important, but the cameras are also a little bit poor. But that's okay, you know, we're managing, we're getting through this. So now this is gonna be interesting. This has been our steep hill climb. It's been really pushing the capability of a lot of these crossovers all day. Let's see if the Subaru can do it on the first try. Now this is gonna be really interesting because one of my big complaints I've had with Subarus in the past is the low speed hill climb torque delivery of the continuously variable transmission. Now I haven't driven a Subaru off-road in many years. This is about a 20-degree climb here. We are in that second X mode. Let's see, I'm gonna make it hard on purpose. So we're stopped at the hardest area here. Building into the throttle. Good result. See folks, this is why I've been excited to drive some newer Subarus, because that made that climb remarkably easily. You know, I thought I would be sitting there full throttle letting those tires spin, but actually, you know, we were about a third throttle, felt the traction system do its thing. We got a little bit of turbo boost and then we walked right up it. That's exactly what I was hoping to see. And, you know, I really hope I have a chance to drive some other newer Subaru products because that was a great result. Better than 95% of the crossovers we've been testing out here. Really cool to see that. All right, so let's keep going with our course. Now we've got this mini mountain climb, which is this good sized mogul to test breakover down into this water pit, and then we're gonna also see some of the traction control programming and see how that works in some trench courses. This is a good riding vehicle too, I gotta say. It's comfortable. Independent suspension, all 4 corners. It's doing what it needs to do. It's very, very comfortable. Let's see if we've got the breakover angle. Nothing but sky. Oh yeah, good result there. And the hill descent control kicking in at the bottom, down into this little pond. And we feel the grip there. Oh yeah, feels pretty good actually. Really not bad at all. We've got this little bit of a side hill, and then we're crossing over this log climb. Just like that. Up and over, back down. Yeah, I mean, I think the ride quality is surprising to me. This is a comfortable car, easily on the same level as the Honda Passport, but definitely better in some respects because that car just simply does not have the ground clearance to tackle some of these obstacles, and this one absolutely is. So three-wheeling it through that little trenches course, back onto the throttle. Yeah, guys, I mean, it's been impressive what this machine can do. Obviously, this is a pre-set up course, and they're likely not going to set up mud fests here so a vehicle can fail, but certainly in that initial steep mogul hill climb, I've been having a lot of issues with other crossovers, and the Subaru performed really well, and the torque delivery out of these turbo engines mated with the CVTs has been so much better than it has been in the past. So I gotta say, I am impressed. Yeah, definitely impressed. I'd love to be able to put this on the TFL slip test and see how it performs in our controlled environment, because I have a feeling it would do very well, especially with this second X mode engaged. Well, a huge thank you to the guys here at Nawapa and Mudfest for putting on this event and allowing me to come out and try out some of these vehicles. I think, this was a very valuable experience for me, and let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Overall, I'm impressed. I'd love to spend a full week with one. I'd love to get it out on the rollers and see what it can do, because I think that this all-wheel drive system's got more in the can than we've seen today. Guys, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.